Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. I collapsed into the kitchen chair at 6:15 on Tuesday evening, still in my work boots. Too tired to care about the dirt I was tracking in. My whole body ached from another brutal warehouse shift that had started before sunrise. 12 straight hours of moving freight and coordinating shipments. The overtime was killing me. I'd worked 67 hours in just over a week, and I could feel every single one of them in my shoulders and lower back. But it wasn't the physical exhaustion that was getting to me. It was the mental exhaustion. Every single day, that's what kept running through my mind. A fight every single day, starting last Monday and continuing straight through to tonight. Last Monday, she'd gone off on me because I didn't unload the dishwasher before leaving for my 5 a.m. shift. Never mind that I'd loaded it the night before. Never mind that I had to be up at 4:30 to make it to work on time. The dishes weren't put away, so I was inconsiderate. Tuesday was about suggesting we order pizza instead of cooking. I'd worked a 13-hour shift. I just wanted something easy. But no, that meant I didn't appreciate her efforts. Never mind that she hadn't cooked in 3 weeks. Wednesday, she completely lost it when I forgot to pick up her prescription at the pharmacy. I'd worked mandatory overtime until 8 p.m. and completely spaced on it. My mistake, sure. But the way she screamed at me, you'd think I'd committed a crime. Thursday, I fell asleep during a movie at 9:30 p.m. I'd been up since 5 a.m. I was exhausted. Apparently, that meant I was giving up on our relationship, that I didn't care about spending quality time together. Friday was the worst. We were at Target, just buying groceries. I grabbed the wrong brand of laundry detergent. She actually screamed at me in the parking lot. People were staring. I'd never been so embarrassed in my life. And Saturday night, just last night, we'd had a massive blow-up when I said I was too wiped out to attend her friend Mallory's dinner party. I'd worked another 12-hour shift that day. 6 consecutive days of work, Monday through Saturday. I just wanted one quiet evening at home. That made me boring. And a social. A disappointment. Tonight was supposed to be different. I'd gotten home hoping we could just relax together. Maybe watch something on TV. Order some food. Nothing fancy. Just a peaceful evening after a brutal week. Jessica had other plans. She wanted me to join her at hot yoga. Her new obsession. She'd been going 4 times a week for the past 2 months. I can't tonight, I said, trying to keep my voice even. I've worked 67 hours this week. I'm just tired. You're always tired, she shot back, starting to pace around our small living room. It was the same pattern I'd seen every night this week. The pacing meant we were heading into fight territory. You're always too busy. You're always too exhausted. You never make time for us anymore. I took a breath. Tried to stay calm. I work overtime to keep this roof over our heads. The rent's not cheap. How is that not caring about us? There's more to a relationship than paying bills, Ryan. She stopped pacing and turned to face me. Her arms crossed. That look on her face that I'd come to dread. You know what? I don't think this is working anymore. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice steady. What do you mean? I mean us. This. You clearly don't care about this relationship. Then she said it. The words just hung there in the air between us like smoke. You want to know the truth? I've been seeing someone else. She delivered it like a chess move. Like she'd just put me in check and was waiting to see how I'd respond. I could see her watching my face, studying my reaction. She expected anger. Maybe tears. Definitely some kind of dramatic scene where I'd beg her to stay or demand to know who it was. Maybe throw something. Make a scene. Prove I cared. Instead, something settled into place inside my head. Not heartbreak. Not even anger. Just clarity. Pure, simple clarity about what needed to happen next. It was like a fog lifting. Everything suddenly made sense. I let 5 seconds of silence hang there. Then I stood up from the table. That clarifies everything. Her expression changed instantly. The confidence drained from her face. Wait, what? That's it. That's it. You made your choice. I walked toward the bedroom. She followed, confusion replacing that calculated look she'd had a moment ago. Hold on, what are you doing? I opened the closet and pulled out 2 large duffel bags. Started loading her workout clothes. She had at least 15 pairs of those expensive leggings. The ones that cost $60 each. The ones she'd insisted she needed for yoga. You can't be serious. Don't you want to know who it is? I kept packing. Not particularly. Aren't you going to fight for us? I paused and actually looked at her. Fight for us? You just told me you're seeing someone else. What exactly am I fighting for? I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to get you to pay attention. I pulled her makeup bag off the bathroom counter. It weighed about 5 pounds. We're not together, I said calmly. You're seeing someone else. Your words. Are you seriously not going to ask me anything about it? I moved to the kitchen, grabbed that expensive blender she'd bought 3 months ago. The one for health smoothies she'd used maybe twice before it started collecting dust. Nope. Fine. Her voice was rising now. If you don't care enough to fight for me, then maybe we shouldn't be together. I stopped and looked at her again. We're not together. You just said you're seeing someone else. I'm helping you pack so you can go be with him. That's when I saw the first crack in her confidence. This wasn't going how she'd planned at all. My phone buzzed on the counter. Text from Connor. Hey man, still have your socket wrench set? Coming by to grab it. Perfect timing. I typed back. Come on over. You're inviting people over right now? Jessica's voice had moved past anger into something closer to panic. Just Connor. He's picking up tools he lent me. I went back to packing. Her self-help books. All 7 of them. The ones about finding yourself and discovering your truth and living authentically. The decorative pillows from the couch. The ones she'd bought at HomeGoods that I never understood the purpose of. Where am I supposed to go? Her voice cracked. That's something you should have considered before telling your husband you're seeing someone else. It's almost 7:30 on a Tuesday night. Where do you expect me to sleep? Then you better start making calls. I'm sure someone will take you in. You can't just throw me out of my own home. I set down the bag I was holding and looked at her carefully. Our lease is in my name. Has been since we moved in 2 years ago, and I've been paying the full rent for 8 months. Since you quit your job at the dental office. She actually looked stunned. You've been keeping track of that? No, Jessica. I've been paying bills. There's a difference between keeping track and just knowing what you pay every month. I zipped up the first bag and started on the second one. Her skincare routine alone filled half of it. She had creams and serums and masks that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. This is insane. You're being completely unreasonable. Am I? Let me make sure I have this right. You told me you're seeing someone else. I'm packing your bag so you can go be with him. How is that unreasonable? She didn't have an answer for that. By 7:30, both bags were packed and sitting by the front door. I grabbed them and set them outside on the porch. Let Jessica see them there. Let reality sink in. Jessica stood in the middle of the living room, her arms wrapped around herself. She kept switching between angry and desperate, like she couldn't decide which approach might work better. I sat back down at the kitchen table and checked my phone. Messages from work. A few emails. Normal Tuesday evening stuff. Like my wife hadn't just told me she was cheating on me 20 minutes ago. I can't believe you're doing this, she said quietly. I can't believe you thought I wouldn't. Connor pulled up at 7:45 in his white electrician's van, the one with his business name on the side. He climbed out and immediately spotted the 2 duffel bags sitting on the front porch. Then he saw me standing in the doorway. Then Jessica visible through the screen door, looking distressed. His face split into a huge grin. No way. It finally happened, huh? She told me she's seeing someone else. And you told her to pack her shit and get out. About damn time, brother. Jessica appeared in the doorway behind me. This isn't what it looks like. Connor laughed. Actually, it looks exactly like what it is. You told him you're cheating, and he's not putting up with it. Pretty straightforward. I wasn't cheating. We just talked. Then why'd you tell him you were seeing someone else? Connor asked, pulling a cigarette from his pocket. He only smoked when something entertaining was happening. She didn't have an answer for that. You remember 4th of July at my place? Connor said to me, lighting up. The cookout. I did remember. Connor and his girlfriend Steph had thrown a barbecue. Good food, cold beer, bunch of friends. Nice afternoon. While you were helping me fix that busted grill, Connor continued. She spent 2 hours telling everyone how disappointed she was in you. Told people you weren't ambitious enough. That you were settling into mediocrity. I'd actually forgotten about that part. I'd been too focused on getting that grill working to pay attention to conversations happening in the yard. She told my girlfriend Steph that you deserved better. Her exact words were that you were settling and she couldn't stand watching it. I was venting to friends. Jessica protested from behind me. Venting is calling one friend and having a private conversation, Connor said, taking a drag. What you did was spend 2 hours at a party telling everyone there how much you'd settled by marrying Ryan. That's not venting. That's character assassination. He looked at me. Dude, we've all been biting our tongues for months. Steph can't stand her. My brother asked me last week why you put up with her constant criticism. Everyone's been waiting for you to wake up. Connor, please, Jessica tried. This is between me and Ryan. No, you made it public when you spent 4th of July trashing him to all his friends. Connor grabbed his socket wrench set from the garage. Good luck finding someone who'll put up with your drama. Ryan sure as hell doesn't have to anymore. About 20 minutes after Connor left, headlights swept across the front window. My sister Amanda's car pulled into the driveway. She got out still wearing her nursing scrubs, the dark blue ones from Cleveland Clinic. She must have come straight from her shift. Our mom had called her. Mrs. Peterson from next door had called my mom after hearing the commotion. Word travels fast in our family. Amanda took one look at the packed bags still sitting on the porch and the expression on my face, and she smiled. Not a small smile. A big, relieved smile. Is it true? She asked, walking up the steps. You finally kicked her out? That's not what happened, Jessica said from inside the townhouse. Amanda stepped into the living room. Then what happened? Enlighten me. I told him I've been seeing someone else, and he completely overreacted. My sister's eyebrows went up. You told your husband you're cheating on him, and you think his response is an overreaction? How exactly should he respond to that? I wasn't actually cheating. I was trying to get him to pay attention to our relationship. By lying about having an affair? Amanda shook her head. That's not how healthy relationships work, Jessica. Amanda turned to me. Remember Mom's birthday dinner last month? I did. We'd all gone to Red Lobster. Mom's favorite place. The whole family was there. Jessica told Aunt Carol you were boring and predictable. Said she felt trapped in this marriage. Aunt Carol pulled me aside in the parking lot after dinner and asked if you two were having problems. She was genuinely worried about you. That was at my family's birthday dinner, I said. The words felt heavy. With all my relatives there. Aunt Carol asked me if you knew how unhappy Jessica was. I didn't know what to say. I just told her you two seemed fine, but honestly, I'd been worried for months. Jessica's face had gone pale. Your aunt was asking invasive questions about our marriage. I just answered honestly. You volunteered the information, Amanda said flatly. Carol told me you brought it up. She was asking about work, and you turned the conversation to how disappointed you were in Ryan. At his mother's birthday dinner. In front of his family. I was having a moment. I was frustrated. You've been having a moment for 6 months, Amanda said. We've all noticed. Mom asked me last month if I thought you two were going to make it. Dad said you reminded him of his ex-wife before she left. The one who complained about everything and made him feel like he was never enough. That stopped me cold. My dad never talked about his first marriage. The fact that he'd brought it up meant things were worse than I'd realized. Right about then, our neighbor Hal Peterson walked over from next door. Hal's a retired firefighter, late 60s, still built like someone who could carry you out of a burning building. Usually pretty quiet. Keeps to himself mostly. Works in his garden. Waves hello. That kind of neighbor. But tonight he was actually smiling as he approached. Evening, folks, he called out. Everything okay over here? He obviously knew what was happening. The townhouses in our complex were built close together. The walls weren't exactly soundproof. If someone was having a loud conversation, you could hear it pretty clearly from next door. Everything's great, Hal, I said. Jessica looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Son, I've got to tell you something, Hal said, stopping at the bottom of the porch steps. My wife Margaret and I, we've been hearing fights through these walls for 3 months now. Usually around dinner time. 5, 6 o'clock. Always her yelling. Always you staying quiet. Never heard you raise your voice once. You could hear. Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. Townhouses, dear. Thin walls. We can hear pretty much everything. The Johnsons on the other side of you can probably hear it too. I felt embarrassed for a moment, but Hal kept talking. We've been worried about you, Ryan. You're a good kid. Polite. Quiet. Help with snow removal in the winter. You don't deserve the way you've been getting treated. Margaret's been saying for weeks now that you've got the patience of a saint. She told me just last night that she didn't know how much more you could take. I appreciate that, Hal. Margaret wanted me to tell you that if you need anything at all, you just let us know. She's probably making you a casserole right now. You know how she is. Amanda laughed at that. She'd met Hal and Margaret a few times. Margaret was the kind of woman who solved problems with food. That's very kind of her. Also wanted you to know. Hal continued, looking directly at Jessica now. We heard what you said earlier. About seeing someone else. Margaret looked at me and said, well, that's that then. Takes a special kind of person to throw away a good man who works as hard as Ryan does. Special in the wrong way, if you ask me. Jessica couldn't even respond to that. What could she say? The neighbors had heard everything. They knew exactly what kind of person she'd been. After Amanda and Hal left, I could hear Jessica on her phone in the living room. She'd moved to the far corner, but her voice carried. She was frantically trying to reach people. Anyone who might offer her a place to stay. First call was to her friend Mallory. I heard it ring 5, 6 times. Then voicemail. Jessica didn't leave a message. Second call, someone answered. From Jessica's side of the conversation, it sounded like her friend Whitney. Hey, I need to talk to you about something. Something happened with Ryan and me and I. The conversation was short. Very short. Less than a minute. It ended with Whitney saying something that made Jessica's shoulders slump. Okay, I understand. Yeah, bye. Third call was to her brother Bryce. This one I could hear both sides because Jessica's voice was getting louder. Bryce, I need your help. What did you do, Jess? Why do you assume I did something? Because Ryan's a good guy, and you've been complaining about him for months. So I'll ask again, what did you do? I just told him something, and he completely overreacted. What did you tell him? Silence from Jessica. Jess, what did you tell him? I told him I'd been seeing someone else. You what? I was trying to get his attention. I was trying to make him care about our relationship. By telling him you're cheating? Jesus Christ, Jess. What did you think would happen? I thought he'd fight for me. I thought he'd realize what he was losing. Well, sounds like he realized what he was losing all right. He realized he was losing a wife who lies and manipulates him. I can't help you with this one, sis. You made this mess. He hung up. I could see Jessica staring at her phone like she couldn't believe what had just happened. Fourth call was to her mother. That one was even shorter. Mom, I need to talk to you about Ryan and me. Whatever her mom said, it made Jessica's face fall. But Mom, more talking from the other end. Okay, fine. Call me when you can. But her mom didn't call back. Not while Jessica was still in the house. Then there was one more call. A number I didn't recognize. This conversation was different. It started with Jessica's voice all sweet and flirtatious. Hey, Cameron. It's Jessica. From the gym. My stomach dropped. So there really was someone. This wasn't just made up. Yeah, I know it's been a while since we talked. Listen, I'm in kind of a situation and I was wondering. Her voice trailed off, then changed completely. All the sweetness drained out. What? No, I thought. We had those conversations and I thought. Whatever Cameron was saying, it was not what she wanted to hear. But you said. More talking from his end. Okay, yeah, I understand. Sorry to bother you. She hung up and just stood there for a minute, phone in hand, staring at nothing. When she turned around and saw me watching, her eyes were red. Cameron, the gym trainer, didn't pan out? I asked. He didn't know I was married. He thought we were just friendly gym acquaintances. He's not. There's no. So you made up a relationship with someone who didn't know you were married and had no interest in you beyond casual conversation. And you used that fictional relationship to try to manipulate me into fighting for you. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The truth was written all over her face. Around 9:30, after all her failed phone calls, Jessica tried one more time with me. She walked over to where I was sitting at the kitchen table, looking exhausted and desperate. Ryan, please. Can we just talk about this like adults? You said you're seeing someone else. What's there to talk about? I didn't mean it like that. I swear I didn't. I was angry. I was frustrated. I felt like you weren't paying attention to me anymore. I said it to get a reaction out of you. You got one. I packed your bags. That's not the reaction I wanted. I looked up at her. Really looked at her. What did you want, Jessica? You wanted me to beg? You wanted me to get jealous? You wanted to watch me fight for you while you held this thing over my head. You wanted to feel like you had power over me. She didn't answer, but the look on her face told me I'd hit the target. Here's the thing about respect, I said. Once it's gone, it's gone. You stood in our living room and told me you're seeing someone else. You said those words. And whether you meant them or not, you said them. You can't unsay them. And even if you could, the fact that you thought saying them was a good idea tells me everything I need to know about what you think of me. I made a mistake. Yeah, you did. A huge one. So can we fix this? Can we try counseling or something? Can we work through this? I stood up. Counseling for what? To help me understand why I should stay with someone who thinks manipulating me with fake affairs is healthy communication? To work through my issues with not being enough for you? No thanks. I'm good. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight? Call Cameron. You're seeing him, right? Oh wait, he doesn't even know you exist. Call Mallory. Call Whitney. Call your mom. Call someone from your yoga class. I don't care where you sleep, but it's not here. You're really going to make me leave at 9:30 at night? You made your choice when you said what you said. These are just the consequences. I pulled out my phone and called an Uber. Gave them our address. Requested a ride big enough for 2 large duffel bags. You're ordering me an Uber? You're seriously going to make me take an Uber to nowhere? I'm paying for your ride. That's more courtesy than you've shown me in months. This isn't who you are, Ryan. You're better than this. No, Jessica. This is exactly who I am. I'm someone who doesn't accept being disrespected in his own home. I'm someone who believes people when they tell me who they are. And you just told me you're someone who sees people as chess pieces to move around. Someone who thinks manipulation is the same as communication. I believe you. The Uber pulled up 5 minutes later. A white sedan. Normal-looking driver. Jessica grabbed her bags, struggled with them down the steps. The driver got out and helped her load them into the trunk. She turned back one last time before getting in the car. You're going to regret this. I really don't think I will. She got in. The car pulled away. I watched the taillights disappear around the corner. Then I closed the door and stood in my own living room for the first time in months without feeling tense. The silence was incredible. No criticism hanging in the air. No waiting for the next complaint. No walking on eggshells wondering what I'd done wrong now. Just quiet. Peaceful, blessed quiet. Wednesday morning brought a flood of texts. Connor sent word that Jessica had spent the night at a hotel near the airport. Apparently, Cameron, the gym trainer, was surprised to hear she had a husband. My dad's response, according to Amanda, was simple. Good. She was using him. Trevor mentioned the whole warehouse was talking and everyone was on my side. His wife, Kelly, sent a separate message. Trevor told me everything. You made the right call. Then around lunchtime, my work phone lit up with notifications. Someone had sent me screenshots of a Facebook post. Jessica's friend Mallory had recorded a video of Jessica showing up at her apartment Tuesday night, crying about how her husband kicked her out for being honest about her feelings. The comments section was brutal. Whitney pointed out that Jessica had told her husband she was seeing someone else, not just having feelings. Connor's girlfriend Steph reminded everyone about the 4th of July complaints. And then came the comment that made everything clear. Someone named Cameron Reed wrote, "Wait, are you talking about me? I didn't know you were married. We talked at the gym like 3 times. Mallory replied to that with just, "What?" Connor added his own comment about manipulation tactics backfiring. The whole thing had dozens of responses, mostly people pointing out the obvious logic problems in Jessica's story. I was heading home for lunch when Hal texted, "Heads up, 3 people just pulled up to your place. One of them is Jessica." I got there around 12:15. Jessica stood on the porch with her mother Diane and her younger brother Bryce. Jessica looked like she hadn't slept. Diane looked ready for a fight. Bryce just looked uncomfortable. Diane walked into the house like she owned it. "Ryan, we need to discuss this situation. Family doesn't give up on family. You made vows." "We did." Then she told me she's seeing someone else. She made a mistake. She said things she didn't mean. That's when Bryce asked the question that changed everything. "Jess, what exactly did you say to him?" "I told him I've been seeing someone else. But I didn't mean it." "You didn't mean you've been seeing someone else," Bryce said slowly. "Or you didn't mean to tell him?" "I was trying to get him to pay attention to me. By telling him you're cheating on him." Diane jumped in defensively, but Bryce wasn't done. The whole family dynamic was shifting right there on my living room carpet. I pulled out my phone and showed them Cameron's Facebook comment. "Here's the guy she's been seeing. He didn't even know she was married." "It wasn't like that," Jessica said through tears. "We just talked at the gym." "Talked or seeing?" I asked. "Because you told me seeing." Bryce turned to his sister. "Holy shit, Jess. You made this guy up?" "I didn't make him up. We did talk. I exaggerated." "You told your husband you're seeing someone else to manipulate him," I said. "And you're surprised it didn't work." I brought up a few other incidents. The 4th of July cookout where she spent hours telling people I was mediocre. My mom's birthday when she told my aunt she felt trapped. The company picnic where she complained about my salary to my coworkers while I was getting her food. Bryce's expression changed with each revelation. You did all that? Diane tried to salvage the situation. Marriage is about forgiveness. You're supposed to work through problems. I agree, I said. I've been working through fights every single day. I've been working through public humiliation. Where's the forgiveness for me? What do you want, an apology? No, I want a divorce. The word hung there. Diane looked shocked. Bryce looked resigned. Jessica just cried harder. You can't be serious, Diane said. I've never been more serious. Bryce pulled his sister aside. You really told him you were seeing someone else? And you thought he'd fight for you? When Jessica didn't answer, Bryce turned to me. Man, I don't blame you. This is messed up. Bryce, she's your sister. And he's right, Mom. She told him she's cheating and expected him to beg. That's crazy. They left shortly after. Diane threw out one last threat about me coming to my senses, but I was already closing the door. Bryce gave me a quiet apology on his way out. I drove back to the warehouse for the afternoon shift. Back at work, Trevor asked how it went. When I told him Jessica's own brother sided with me, he just shook his head. Nobody thinks you're wrong, man. This is clear cut. That evening, the messages kept coming. Hal said Margaret made her famous meatloaf for me. Amanda invited me to dinner at our parents' place. Connor wanted me at poker night. Trevor needed me for warehouse league bowling. 3 weeks later, I sat in a lawyer's office signing divorce papers. No kids, no shared property, minimal assets. Jessica agreed to everything through her attorney. Her lawyer had apparently explained that abandonment by choice doesn't look good in court, and Cameron Reed's Facebook comment was now part of the official record. That evening, Connor and his girlfriend Steph hosted a small dinner at their place. Connor, Amanda, Trevor and his wife, Hal and Margaret. Pizza and beer. Simple and genuine. Any regrets? Amanda asked. None. I regret staying as long as I did. What specifically? Letting her make me feel like I wasn't enough. Accepting her criticism as normal. Thinking I had to try harder instead of realizing she was the problem. We talked about what I didn't miss. Waking up to complaints. Being criticized in front of people. Walking on eggshells in my own home. The constant fights over nothing. Being told I wasn't enough. Trevor had an update. Jessica had moved to Columbus but came back to Cleveland within days, staying with friends temporarily. She was still telling people I kicked her out for no reason, but most people who knew the truth weren't buying it. Cameron Reed had blocked her on social media. She'd tried calling my number a few times before I blocked her on day 3. Hal made an observation that stuck with me. The house has been quiet for 3 weeks. No fights. No yelling. Margaret and I haven't seen you this relaxed in a year. He was right. I hadn't realized how much stress I'd been carrying until it was gone. I'd cut back to normal hours at work instead of hiding in overtime. Joined Connor's bowling league. Started actually enjoying coming home. Lost 8 pounds of stress weight without trying. 3 months later, I ran into Mallory at Target. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me. Hey, Ryan. Mallory, how are you? I wanted to apologize for that Facebook post. I didn't know the whole story. It's fine. Water under the bridge. She hesitated, then continued. Jessica's not doing great. She's still in Cleveland, staying with Whitney. She keeps saying you'll eventually forgive her. That this was all a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She said what she meant. That's what I told her. Some things you can't take back. Mallory paused. We should have said something earlier. About how she was treating you. We all saw it. I appreciate that. But this worked out how it needed to. You seem lighter. Happier. I am. Driving home, I thought about how much had changed in 3 months. 3 months ago, I dreaded coming home. Now I looked forward to it. 3 months ago, I thought I was the problem. Now I understood the truth. I'd gained things I didn't even know I was missing. Self-respect. Actual peace of mind. A real support system of people who cared. Energy that wasn't being drained by constant conflict. The confidence to make decisions without second-guessing everything. Some people test your boundaries to see what they can get away with. And when you enforce those boundaries, they call you the bad guy. But respect isn't negotiable. Neither is honesty. A relationship without either isn't worth saving. That evening, I was home cooking dinner with music playing. Something I never did before because it was too loud. My phone buzzed. Connor. Poker night moved to my place. Amanda's bringing that spinach dip. You in? Absolutely. I looked around my quiet townhouse. No arguing. No tension. No drama. Just me, living my life on my terms. I smiled and replied, be there at 7. Walking out into the February evening, keys in hand, I realized something simple but profound. I was free. Free from manipulation, free from criticism, free from walking on eggshells in my own life. Some people would call it a failed marriage. I called it a successful escape, and I'd never felt more at peace. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.